Greetings, everyone. I am David Summersong. Welcome to the global consequences of females being conditioned to suck and swallow. My talks with you build on one another because I speak to the generic you as if you were present and interested. Those of you who feel your belly brain listening to me as you read this and sense a message that goes beyond the words may want to deepen their feeling by allowing more of my previous words to open their hearts and increase their informational basics about my point of view to make this sharing more understandable. The talks that I have verbalized and put on YouTube are under transcripts, and the talks that I have not verbalized are under new on my website, davidsummersong.org. So let us inspect the subject matter at hand from numerous points of view and the biochemical perspective of the born female. If requested, the biochemistry of other paradigms can be discussed further than they will be here. Let me say first of all that as a Taoist practitioner and longtime celibate, I have no judgment or opinion about the matter at hand. It is my intention to relate to you the results of scientific and medical studies done across the planet and my personal observations as a research scientist and hands-on healer in 83 countries over more than 60 years. I will observe that if one focuses solely on the physical sensation that the human body is capable of, then one will miss entirely other potential realms of experiential existence. In my typical upside-down and backwards approach to things, in order to examine modern behaviors, we need to look at the very earliest primordial vibrational emanations. In the beginning, longing and reluctance emerged creation. Creation and individualization were new, and thus there were no experience available that could provide guidelines to behavior or self-definition. Because creatures had no experience of boundaries or idea what individualization was, things began to mix with each other. Creatures inserted themselves into other creatures. Some creatures liked being inserted into, and some liked being the inserters. All other ranges of mixed feelings and confusion represented themselves here. Because of the process of gaining experience, creatures had to be sorted out from each other and put back on the path of manifesting their own individualized body types based on their vibrational consciousness twice over the last 2 billion years. The mandate toward the enforced human form of many creatures with variable intelligence and sensitivities, which has kept civilization on a narrow path for thousands of years, was released by the increase in speed in vibrational energy from the galactic center, which arrived on Earth during the time of the harmonic convergence. If one is observant and does not withhold the truth from oneself, it has become obvious by now that the expression of human form in manifestation has gained greater latitude. Throughout the ages, habituation of behavior through programming, ignorance, and control has caused the obvious status quo to appear maintained, while the fragmentation of ultimate source energy into dissociated beings who believe in separation accelerated. Before we can progress to the modern, we need to go back to the beginning again. As the manifestation of form took place, the feminine was not pleased, because when she opened space, the arrogance of the male filled it. The acquiescence and space-opening proclivities of female essence has been violated from the beginning. The best way over time that the patriarchy found to suppress female vocalization and opinion was by training them as young girls to understand that their mouths were not for speaking. Instead, they were receptacles and vessels of pleasure to serve male energy by force, if desirable or necessary. This has gone on through time, with perhaps some interruptions through periods of improved female esteem for more than 2 billion years. The world is in a state which is the result of the abuse and domination of feminine essence throughout time, because of shoving her right to an opinion and a vote on how the universe manifests, as well as male organs, down her throat. Let us move on now to the various medical opinions that have been developed through studies across the planet in the last several decades. First of all, it is helpful if you understand that every drop of male ejaculate is the energy equivalent of 200 drops of blood. Let us each pause for a moment and consider our own personal history, or what we know of the history of males in our lives. Become visual here, and see the river of blood that has become displaced from your heart, soul, and vitality because of your imprinting and unconscious habits and behaviors around your sexuality. Taoism teaches non-ejaculation even in the depths and midst of greatest passions and deepest spiritual ecstatic fusion and communication. Personally, I practice celibacy and martial arts as a way of increasing my self-awareness and authenticity and magnetizing to myself, hopefully, a female essence of equal character, strength, and purity, so that we can experience together the ultimate potentialities in human commingled vibrational ecstasy. Ejaculation is composed of vitamins, minerals, proteins, etc., and is very beneficial nutritionally to the born female who ingests it. Numerous studies have shown that there is reduction in many types of diseases and conditions in females who ingest semen daily. If this is physically or psychologically derived result, no studies have shown, but the subject could be discussed. Further studies have shown that individuals who engage in this practice professionally or find it necessary or are encouraged to virtually subsist on this nutritional source lose external body fat, become strong for their size, and exceptionally healthy. They obviously benefit from the proteins that they ingest. In many cases, however, semen contains foreign and toxic substances because of the primitive habits and lack of consciousness of the male energies involved. Beneficially, again, to the females is the fact that these will, in most cases, readily pass out of the system unless one is angry and retains them in the liver. It is therefore functionally effective for the females who are in this type of a situation without having a choice, that they understand they have the upper hand even though they appear to be in service, because males are willing, essentially, to become old and die quickly for the privilege of having a lonely sensation momentarily in female mouths. Obviously, males who habitually deplete their mineral content have lower levels of consciousness. Their bodies become stressed, they become old and depleted early, and then generally die bitter and unhappy. I advocate for many of these creatures the consumption of Viagra as a practice of radical feminism, because the sooner this level of vibration depletes itself and removes itself from the planet, the better. So, we have reached the time and place where young women are confused about this practice, are kept ignorant about the potentialities of their own bodies for the purposes of male domination so that they can be used as receptacles and pleasure vessels, and they are so inexperienced with the idea and concept of unconditional loving acceptance and devotion from conscious male energy, that their hunger for any type of male approval, acceptance, and grounding contact leads them into continued submission. I am not a veterinarian, and I am distinctly disinterested in the mating habits, promenades, or rituals of any creature. Should I choose to have physical experience myself, it will be because I have been graced by the eternal feminine essence with an opportunity for a divine level of aware communication, while elevating myself on all levels through the experience of unconditional, loving, devotional acceptance, cherishing, witnessing, and grounding. This is in no way to be taken as a judgment of any type of behavior or a suggestion to modify consciousness. I share my way of being with my sisters because, as far as I can tell, available, compassionate, unconditionally accepting male role models are about as common as people selling dental floss for chickens. I feel that it is important for my sisters globally that they know that I am willing and able to ground their energy as their male role model, because I have fully surrendered my life to the flow of energy that heals the divine feminine heart. I hold myself at the feet of source energy as conscious water, without form, desire, ideology, or venue. For me, all experience is observation of the eternal manifesting in the moment. As a being in touch with my formless self, I can witness for you the history of your manifestation and pain with unconditional love and without judgment. In my experience, this has assisted persons to release their own shame, guilt, self-hatred, and imprinting. Perhaps this will assist you similarly. We have looked so far at how the feminine voice has been obstructed through time, and how she has been conditioned into service and acceptance as a pleasure vessel and receptacle without choice. Once again, this is not commentary about conscious behavior between individuals. This is about the movement of unconscious forces and imprinting throughout history that have manifested the world of today. Now that you have this information and absolutely know where to go with it in terms of real action, you're wondering what my purpose is in relating all of this to you. If I could give you a direct answer to that question, I probably would not be able to speak to you at all. I find that I sit and meditate, intending fully to be a quiet recluse, and enjoy the peace and serenity that I choose to surround myself with, deep in the heart of the urban jungle. Inspiration for me is insistent. The words wanting to be spoken through me do not go away until I allow them to exist in print. I was asked earlier where I was going with the title of this talk, and I replied, the problem is I can't tell which side of the piece of paper the roadmap is written on or which end is up. Having spent more than 50 years in daily meditation, with the point being unconditional loving surrender to Source in order to recognize Source within myself, I found that it emerges in peculiar expression often. One can only know the truth by how it feels. For myself, I examine this continually at the deepest possible levels and rededicate myself in every conscious moment to the upliftment and healing of the divine feminine essence. I understand this to be an honorable privilege and not a task. I experience unconditional loving acceptance of the divine feminine essence in manifestation as healing in a manner that cannot possibly be expressed in words or limited to them. This is not to say that I tolerate unacceptable or abusive behavior. Acknowledging the source, seeing the damage, and walking away without judgment works for me if I encounter someone who refuses to leave the dark side. So what can I say at this point that's going to leave a good taste in your mouth from this discussion? If you're a male, should I remind you about bleeding to death in your companion's mouth and refusing to attempt a higher and more evolved consciousness and pleasure? If you're a female, should I discuss the benefits of your nutrition versus watching your partner age early or ask how you actually feel about what you're doing? Or is it possible that we can go back to the earlier consideration of behavior based on spiritual consciousness and genuine loving affection? My sole purpose in everything I do, in every breath I take, is to love my sisters so much that they can begin to forgive and love themselves, perhaps even to the point that they forego plasticizing and chemicalizing their bodies to achieve some illusion of acceptability. Let me state this as directly and simply as possible. If you are female in any form, my perception of your energy is one of beauty and radiance beyond speaking, because you are the form and the substance of the ultimate divinity that opens space, which then and only then permits the arrogance of existence to occur in the space which you have opened, be it mental, physical, or emotional. Please feel my unconditional, loving acceptance and devotional love for you personally. Individually, this means you, especially the you that thinks that it can't possibly be you that I'm speaking to. Please. So that you are able to feel free, feel that you have choice, and do not need to do anything detrimental to yourself to be acceptable. You might even become so invigorated with my delight at your acquisition of personal power that you decide you no longer need to be acceptable to anyone or anything except yourself and the source that manifests you. As an open invitation, I am interested in conversations and friendships with female persons who are fierce, authentic, and self-aware. If one is sufficiently interested to have read my website thoroughly so as to have answered a lot of their own questions, I would be open to multiple dialogue. I absolutely encourage raging, crying, screaming without making noise if necessary, and every type of verbal self-expression. As a real man, I seek to extricate from my sisters' throats any blockages that they do not desire, and to intercede on an etheric level as a loving brother between them and any who would offer harm. This has been a circuitous adventure for us both. I hope that your reality has expanded and that you have more room to breathe, evaluate, and be in the loving safety of my vibrational space. I have been mystified since I was a very young savant child that my words so far have not melted the heart of the world and caused great social change in behavior. Maybe you can help me out here by helping others read or hear my words. I'm sure that Jesus said something to the effect of, "Raising the dead is no problem. Raising enthusiasm, now that's a miracle."